Hello, Mindset Recovery friends. It's Roberto. I know that I don't have any followers. Nobody really watches these videos, but I'm making them for myself and anybody who finds them. But if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that I have been in and out of the rooms of AA and NA for over 30 years and never really committed to working the program the way that it was designed to be worked. So as a result, had very limited success. November 2019, I had a stroke. Following that life-changing event, I, I knew enough about 12-step programs to know that they were the only hope that I had for getting and staying clean and or sober. So I went back to them with renewed commitment, and it still has taken me since probably January or February 2020 of going to outpatient rehab, learning coping skills there. A lot of NA and AA principles involved in that program, and then transitioning from that program into AA, and then from AA to NA, which is, in my opinion, basically the same program, just expanded to include more addictions than just alcohol. And so now I made it about 65 days clean and decided to go out and do some more research, as is my tendency to do, but I have never made it 60 days previously. So now I posted a video probably 60 days ago that I was getting back on the wagon. I think I posted it 30 days. I don't remember. But anyway, I got my 60-day key tag yesterday. Whoop whoop. So anyway, I'm excited. Um, just some insights for people who, like me, have struggled in and out when the white chip shuffle or whatever you want to call it. Finally learning to submit to this program. It's not a complicated program. It's simple, but it's not easy because you have to change. I had to change nearly everything in my life in order to be able to see progress in this program. What it has done for me is it has given me a conscious contact with my higher power, which gives me the joy that I was looking for in drugs and alcohol my whole life and only got for fleeting moments. It wasn't even the same kind of joy, but I got rid of the pain or the emotional crisis or whatever it was I was dealing with for a short period of time. I just kind of blocked it out, didn't think about it, got some relief. But then when the drugs wore off, I had less money. I felt like crap. I felt bad about myself because it's something that I have been trying to master on my own. Excuse me, for 30 some years with no progress, no success. So, that just fed into my low self-esteem of, realizing that I was never going to be able to do this. But, once I started to increase my conscious contact with my higher power, I feel like is what has given me the resolve and the ability to stay on this path, because I feel so much better. One of the big things I think I might have talked about in the last video, but I was feeling so connected with my higher power and just, in a good mood and, knowing what to do in situations that used to baffle me, and just things were going so much better in my life. But, my good old addiction, which happens for me, will try to trick me into thinking that I'm fixed now for some reason, which, spoiler alert, that doesn't happen. If you are truly a drug addict or alcoholic, which if you're an alcoholic, in my opinion, you are a drug addict because alcohol is a drug, But whatever, it says in the AA literature that all we ever wanted to be able to do was master and control our drinking. Well, all I ever wanted to do was master and control anything to do with the substance that I wanted to use. And I was never able to do that. So I heard a guy in a speaker meeting say one time, if you think that you might have a problem with drugs, if you could get a large quantity of your drug of choice, which may be alcohol, whatever it is, and use some of it and put the rest away for the next day, if that sounds ridiculous to you, which it sounds ridiculous to me, my drug of choice was a white powder. And, I didn't really get to do it that much because it's not cheap. But if I were to, let's say somebody were to give me a bag of that substance, and I would be like, oh, I'm just going to do a little bit of it and then I'm going to save the rest for tomorrow, which has been a thought process that I've had many times over the years. At this point in time, I would laugh in hilarity at that prospect because I know that it's not going to happen. I know that I will be obsessing about, well, I'm just going to do a little bit more, I'm just, whatever. It'll be a shit show. The next thing you know, I'll be up all night. I have flushed it down the toilet to go to bed, which is a colossal waste of money. But I mean, I knew there's no way in the world that I was going to be going to bed anytime soon. So what happens with addicts a lot of times is so they're like, okay, well, obviously that drug of choice is ridiculously expensive. It's dangerous. It's hard to find, whatever. So let's substitute another drug. Well, I'll just drink or I'll just smoke weed or whatever it is. That has not been a successful strategy for me either, because I tell you what, weed, I smoked weed for a long time. I started smoking when I was in my late teens, and I stopped smoking like wake and bake all day long in my 30s. I still partook of it, socially later into my 50s. I finally just got tired of it. In the end, it was mostly just socially or, at night before I went to bed. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to call that abuse or not. It wasn't negatively impactful in and of itself. But my problem with that is, I mean, not only is, it's illegal in most states, it's illegal in the state that I live in. If I ever got busted with it, that would not be, conducive to happiness and probably expensive legal fees, etc. But barring that side of it, it always led me back to alcohol. And the thing is, alcohol for me, although not 100% negatively impacted in and of itself, I don't know about you, but I give two craps about any kind of a 12-step program about 3 beers in. And what I have found about myself is that one is never enough. It's never enough. So what the saying goes is one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. Because if I drink one, I just want one more. And I always just want one more. And as soon as I get, 3 in my system, maybe less, then, my thought process is askew. And I'm like, hey, you know what? This is not the drug that I actually want to be doing. So let's go drive under the influence of alcohol and do something even more illegal than that and obtain stronger, harder drugs that will make my life completely miserable and make me broke at the same time. And my addiction seems to think that that is an awesome thought process. And so basically what's happened is I've been reprogramming my mind with things that I already knew. I mean, I could have told you years ago that, I only try to drink on the weekends because I know I can't just drink a beer or two during the week. I'd rather not drink a beer until I can drink as many as I want. And, then I don't know if you've ever drank in excess, but every single time I have felt like somebody beat my ass the next day. Excuse me. I got to the point in my older age where I just didn't want to feel like crap at work. because, I mean, you get old. It's harder. I'm not 20 anymore. It's hard enough for me to go to work and do my job, but feeling like crap is definitely makes it even worse. So anyway, all of this stuff is alcohol and drugs beat me into submission. I have done the first step multitudinous times and said, oh, yeah, I'm powerless over drugs and alcohol, and my life has become unmanageable. Because that's easy for me to see right after something crappy happens or I'm scared. But the problem with drug addicts, and it's in the literature, is it's hard to bring that back into my memory with enough sufficient urgency or whatever, however it goes, to help me stay on course because of that. But what has happened now is I've failed so many times that I just know that when the disease says to me, hey, what would be a great idea? You should get drunk today. That I'm like, well, no, that has never, ever, ever turned out to be a good idea. And lots of dumb shit has happened as a result of following that advice. So once I finally realized that I'm never going to be able to drink again because I can't drink like a non-addicted person, when I have truly made that submission, my struggling for the last 2 years has been, how do I make that happen in my mind? And unfortunately, the answer to that question for me is that I can't. So my two choices are to either stay out and continue to follow that path until it gets so bad that I can't deny the fact that that is not a good option for me. Or B, I'm going to try to work this program to the best of my ability, knowing in my head that it's the only choice for me to stay alive and be a happy person and productive member of society. And sometimes it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to use the tools of this program and reach out to people, which is something that I resisted for many years. I wasn't going to call anyone because I didn't want anybody to talk me out of my great plan. And now when I wanted to stay clean worse than I wanted to party, get high, whatever you want to call it, that's when I started to utilize the tools of this program, which are many and varied. So for me, it's a lot of prayer, some morning meditation for like a half an hour, reading daily meditations, thinking about them, going to meetings. The big thing they tell you in 12-step programs is 90 meetings in 90 days. You get to go to a meeting, you get to hear people talk about things that you relate to. Because, for what I found is like, addiction for me is very self-centered. And so I have a big ego, low self-esteem, but huge ego. So you come at me and you start telling me what I need to do. Well, you know what, man, your problem is you just drink too much and you just need to mellow out and you just need to only drink beer or whatever it is. My defenses are up and I'm like, you know what? I'm knowledgeable and you don't get to tell me what to do, and screw you. I'm doing what I want to do. However, if I'm in a meeting and I hear this other person talking about having an issue with a substance with which I also struggle, and they're talking about themselves. They're not talking about me. They're like, man, you know what? Every time I freaking get drunk, I end up going out and buying this other drug, and I spend all my money, and I got health problems, and I lost my kids, whatever it is. I can relate to that kind of shit because I've been dealing with that same bullshit for 30 years. And then they're like, I finally figured out that I just need to do this and this and this. Well, they're not talking to me, but I'm relating with their experiences. So I can, without my ego coming up and saying, oh, that guy's telling you what to do and you're smarter than him or whatever it is, I can say, you know what? That's worked for him. He's calling people and he's staying clean. And he's going to meetings and he's staying clean. And when he wants to use, he comes in here and he tells everybody and he gets it out. And we're only as sick as our secrets. So when I am like, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody because I'm embarrassed that I want to use and I wish I didn't, whatever the case may be, that's setting myself up for failure. So I'm getting it out. I'm calling sponsor. He's talking to me, helping me. Because, especially in the first 90 days, man, my thoughts, I had crazy thoughts, not like I wanted to go blow up a building or rob a bank, but just, stupid ideas. And, I talked to somebody who's got some sobriety that's further on this path than me. It's easy for them to look back and go, yeah, you know what? I did that too. And it didn't work out, or my buddy or whatever. And this is what we did. And then I can be like, like a situation last night with my son. Got a son just turned 18, and we're having a tiff over something that's been an ongoing issue. And I kind of overreacted a little bit the other night. I wasn't as much of a tool as I used to be, because I've been, getting some success in the program now for a couple of years. Now I'm up to, this was like I had 59 days clean. So I didn't react the way I wanted to, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it would have been. And so I was talking to him about it yesterday. And so, as an addict, I tend to beat myself up and just assume that I'm making really bad decisions. So I had somebody who's got, a better perspective than me to tell me, you know what? That wasn't ridiculous, man. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're doing better than you used to. And how about this? This is an idea of maybe how to resolve that issue. So I came home, had a little talk with my son, and we worked out a mutually beneficial resolution to the issue that both of us can agree with. And he had input into it. And since he's an adult now, that's very important to him. I'm used to being able to just say, hey, my way or the highway. But, he's an adult now. And if I don't teach him how to be an adult while he's still in my house, then he's going to be like me when I moved out. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. And I didn't burn my life to the ground. But, had I known when I was 18, when I moved out, what I know now, I would be the richest man in the world. I don't know, obviously, but you know what I'm saying? People say, if I know then what I know now, my life would be a lot different. Well, that is truly the case, I believe. Of course, if my life had been different than it was, then I wouldn't be the man I am today. And so, that's just, the multiverse and all that kind of junk, but whatever. I know that today I'm clean, 60 days. I'm working a program. I'm happy. I'm connected with my higher power. I'm being compassionate towards other people and not just locked up in my own self-centeredness. And, so anyway, I hope that maybe something that I said resonated with you. As always, if you have any questions, you can make comments below. Honestly, I don't go on this much except to make videos. And sometimes I watch videos that I've made in the past to remind me of maybe progress that I've made, or, whatever. But I don't, I'm not one of those guys that check stats, and, I probably won't see your comment. So my suggestion would be to send me an email. I have a Hotmail address because I'm old. So anyway, it's piaster67@hotmail.com, which is piaster67@hotmail.com. So this is Roberto signing off.